What's up guys, Lon here from Android Authority, and Motorola's latest flagship has finally arrived, so let's go ahead and unbox this bad boy. This is your unboxing and first impressions of the Moto X Pure Edition, aka the Moto X Style. If you follow the Moto X since the beginning like I have, the first thing you're going to notice right off the bat is how much bigger the box is compared to the boxes of the last two Moto X's, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is obviously because the phone is much bigger, and two, because Motorola was nice enough to include a bumper case inside the box, which we'll of course take a look at during the unboxing. After you've sliced open the plastic film, tossed it aside, and crack open the box, you're immediately greeted with the phone, but in the usual unboxing fashion, we'll set that off to the side and see what else is in the box. To the right side of the phone, underneath the paper insert, is a plastic clear bumper. It's nothing fancy, but should get the job done just fine if you need a little bit of protection, and you can't really complain too much about it because after all, it's practically free. Underneath the bumper case is Motorola's turbo powered charging brick to take advantage of that fast charging, and Moto says this will give you 10 hours of battery life in just 15 minutes. The only oddity that I noticed was that the cable doesn't disconnect from the charging brick, so if you need a dedicated micro USB to USB cable, you'll have to supply that yourself. Also included inside the box is the typical start guide and warranty information, which nobody is going to read, and underneath all of that is the standard SIM removal tool, and that's pretty much all you get. What you really want to take a look at is the Moto X, and one of the biggest selling points of the Moto X has always been customization and making it your own, so that's exactly what I did. I chose to go with a black front, slate back, and lemon lime for the accents, and personally I think it looks pretty good, but you can choose whatever color or material choices that you want, like wood and leather, and that's part of the beauty of owning a Moto X. Design wise, it's very similar to the previous generations of Moto X's with the sloping curved back, rounded corners, and unassuming clean front. And of course, Motorola's signature dimple is on the back underneath the camera, and they've chosen to go back to a much smaller, more subtle dimple, which I think is a lot better. The biggest difference this year is the size, and I'll be honest, when I got to check it out in New York, I was very skeptical that it was going to feel too large in the hand, especially because of that 5.7-inch display, but once I got to hold it for the first time, all my doubts were put to rest, and I still feel the same way about it now. Don't get me wrong, it's not a small phone anymore, and it dwarfs the previous two Moto X's, but Motorola's done a really nice job with tightening up the bezels that it feels very manageable in one hand. In fact, it's actually very similar in size to the Galaxy Note 5 in terms of height and width. The only exception is the Moto X is slightly thicker, but basically what I'm saying here is if you can handle the size of the Galaxy Note 5, you'll have absolutely no problems with the Moto X. Just to recap the specs really quickly, you're looking at a Snapdragon 808 processor, 3 gigs of RAM, 16, 32, or 64 gigs of internal storage, plus micro SD card expansion this year, and inside is an embedded 3000 mAh battery, which hopefully is enough, especially considering the display on this year's model has been swapped for a TFT LCD display versus the AMOLEDs on previous models. So features like Moto Display may eat up a little bit more battery life, but obviously we'll have to wait and see. The cameras have also seen an improvement, at least on paper, with a 21 megapixel shooter in the back and a 5 megapixel wide angle lens on the front with a built-in selfie flash. I haven't had the phone long enough to test the camera. In fact, I just received it earlier this morning, but I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and hope that it's a lot better than last year's and can at least somewhat compare to other flagships. And finally, you have the software with Android 5.1.1 out of the box, and Motorola has had a really good track record with keeping the experience very close to stock, which is why I have always felt that the Moto X is the best alternative to a Nexus, and in some ways it's better because of Motorola's super useful features like Moto Display and Moto Voice, which you can still customize with your own key phrase. Another awesome thing about the Moto X Pure Edition is that there's no bloatware, and on first boot you'll notice that there's only a page and a half worth of apps, with most of them being Google applications and only a few Moto applications like Moto Connect, Migrate, and the Moto app for tweaking the Motorola features. But that is going to do it for this quick unboxing and first impressions of the Moto X. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the full review, which should be coming up shortly, and subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss out on it when it goes live. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Keep it tuned here to Android Authority because we are your source for all things Android.